So welcome to the Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Donna McCartney, and I'm honored to be your worship associate today. I'm joined in welcoming you this morning by Wendy Karn, our Intern Minister, Jacob Swetlin, our song leader, and Karen Magoon Pearson, who is our Director of Religious Education for Children and Youth. Yay! We'd like to recognize the many volunteers that have helped to put this service together today. And they are up there on the screen, and plus there's a lot of other people in the background as well. So thank you to all of our volunteers. You're the foundation of our community. Thank you. We also respectfully recognize that our church property rests on Ahashiman and Tongva land. As Unitarian Universalists, we have many different beliefs, but we are one loving community. We're bound together not by a common set of beliefs, but rather by a covenant. A covenant is simply a promise that whatever our beliefs, we accept one another and encourage each other in our spiritual growth. We affirm that all life has inherent value and that all existence is interconnected. We strive for justice and compassion in our deeds and relationships, and we are committed to creating a welcoming community without regard to the traits that sometimes divide other people. To our roomers, we invite you to silence your cell phones. For our Zoomers, good morning, Zoomers. Great to have you. We invite you to say hello in the chat. I want to extend a special welcome to visitors. If you're seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you will find it here. So let our worship begin with the lighting of our chalice. In a minute, I'm going to invite Craig Speary up here to light our chalice. He's been a member of our church for more than 25 years. Craig is a pillar of our community, doing things like chairing the Sanctuary Construction Committee and being a longtime member of the choir, among many, many other things. So come on up, Craig. And let's say our chalice lighting together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to study truth in love, thank you, and to love one another. This we affirm together.
Please rise and bow your spirit, and let's sing our opening song.
Welcome to this place where certainty transforms to questions. This place that takes what is and imagines what it can be. Welcome to this space where what was fixed begins to shift, where rigidity embraces unfolding as we join in the dance of transformation. Welcome to this moment of change where together we transfigure and transcend together.
Hearts open, minds awake, change us now for heaven's sake. Leave us not alone in hatred's wake. Show us how to love. Show us how to love. Show us how to Hearts open, souls awake, rules we make, we now must break with our very own lives at stake. We must learn to love. We must learn to love. We must learn. We must learn to Eyes open, shocked awake, much to learn from our mistakes. Draw us closer in our heart's ache. Show us how to love. Show us how to love. Show us how. Show us how to love. Show us how to love. Show us how to love. Show us how. Show us
I'd like to welcome Karen Magoon Pearson, our Director of Religious Education.
Just want to say extra thanks to the choir for that one. That was much needed this morning for me. And I want to thank Wendy for suggesting the story today, because it's pretty perfect. So our story is called The Little Stream Called to the Sea. Once there was a little stream that dreamed of flowing to the sea. The stream started in an aquifer, a huge pool of water underground. But the call of the ocean was so strong that the stream pushed its way through nooks and cracks, up through the earth, until it burst forth into the air and began its journey toward the sea. As its waters bubbled to the surface, they ran down the hill, carving the stream bed into the earth. Sometimes the spring babbled as it traveled. Sometimes it gurgled. Sometimes it roared. At times the stream traveled alone. Its waters were so clear you could see the pebbles that lined its bed. At other times the stream ran through great lakes, or tumbled over a cliff, or joined other streams to form a river, and then split again to travel alone. But always, always the little stream yearned to flow into the sea. Sometimes the stream would run fast and deep, eager to reach the sea. Fish swam in its waters as it carried them swiftly on its journey. Sometimes the stream would grow wide and slow, and it would carry boats on its back as it continued its journey. But always, always the little stream yearned to flow into the sea. One day, just as the call of the ocean seemed to grow a bit stronger, the stream found itself growing sluggish. Its waters grew thick with mud, until sadly it pooled into a brackish mud hole right on the edge of the desert. Woe is me, thought the little stream. Now I'll never get to the sea. It tried going around the desert, but the desert was too wide. It tried going under the desert, but the desert was too deep. Still, even with mud in its ears, the little stream heard the call of the ocean and yearned to flow to the sea. After what seemed like a long time, as the stream just pooled there in the sun, it began to hear a second voice. I can take you to the stream, I can take you to the sea, little stream, whispered the wind. Come with me, I'll carry you to the ocean shore. How could you do that? Scoffed the stream. You are only made of air. I can carry you on a breeze, whispered the wind, but you must be very brave, for you must let go of yourself and change. I've changed many times, said the stream, but this will be different, said the wind. The little stream paused, but deep within, the stream still yearned for the sea. So the stream let go, and the wind picked it up, particle by particle. At first, the stream was scared, for it felt lost. It was no longer a stream, but was turned sort of inside out, and had become moisture swirling in the sky. The view was like nothing the little stream had ever seen before. Not only was the whole world laid out below it, but it was surrounded by sparkling jewels. Then what had been the stream realized that all those sparkling jewels were parts of it. Molecules of water, droplets of moisture, sparkling in the light. What had been the stream realized that it was truly beautiful on the inside. Next, the stream-turned moisture saw that it was not alone, for the wind had whispered to other streams and ponds, and even to the morning dew upon the oasis. All had turned into moisture, and all their parts were also sparkling in the sun. Together they were even more beautiful, for the sunlight had changed them into all the colors of a rainbow. Then the little stream-turned rainbow felt itself falling and falling and falling. All the other droplets were falling too, until plop, 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 plop. All the droplets ran together into a mighty river which rushed down the mountainside, across the coastal plain, and into the sea, where the waves pushed it back and pulled it forward, and the currents carried it far out into the pulsing depths. The little stream was content. But I understand that every now and then the wind would breeze by, whispering to the currents in the sea, "Come with me. Come with me," and that the moisture would rise up into the wind and be carried away to start all over again. I'm going to light our children's chalice, and then we'll sing our children and their teachers out to our religious education classes.
Oh no. It's a windy piece of pathwork today. What light is for plants, love is for souls. It is that which causes us to grow and that toward which we grow. As a seed inches under the ground toward a light it can't yet see, love and suffering cause us to break ground and flower. We break ground following our heart by being real and being kind. This stirring to break ground and flower is our transformation. I welcome it by any name. It has changed my life. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole. Welcome to spring, everyone. The vernal equinox just started a few days ago, and you may be noticing some changes. More blooms, more color, more birds, more bunnies, more lizards. They're all out there. And it's a season where transformations are very visible and bright and vibrant in our natural world. And I've been thinking a lot about how Unitarian Universalism has transformed my life. I remember the first time I came to a Unitarian Universalist service quite well. It was late January of 2016, and I was not feeling very peaceful and at ease. My mother's health was declining, and the new position I had taken at work, it was much closer to home, and it was supposed to make things easier. It didn't. I'd been also really excited about the prospect of having the first woman in the White House, and that didn't happen either. All along this time, my soon-to-be husband and I were planning our wedding. We were getting ready to get married, and thankfully that did happen. But planning a wedding is tough. It's really stressful, making seating charts and all these things that you just don't consider. And with all those other things going on, it was tough. So I found myself pretty stressed out a lot of the time. So I returned to the spiritual practice that I had picked up when I had to commute. And I like to call it car meditation. And it's exactly what it sounds like. I would repeat this mantra in the car, and it was inspired by a book called After the Ecstasy, The Laundry by Jack Kornfield, who is an American Buddhist. Many of you may be familiar with him. If not, After the Ecstasy, The Laundry. I would repeat this Buddhist meditation over and over again in my car. It sounds like this. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. So, as I said these words to myself, I would direct them at a person who had come to my mind. And I would think of all of the people in my life that I thought needed this, and some people in my life who really needed it. And sometimes I would direct it to people in traffic, the people who are honking unnecessarily because, maybe they were having a hard time too. And then I would direct it to the world at large. And then when I would remember, I would direct it towards myself. So I was car meditating on my way to church that day. Imagine my surprise when the opening hymn was filled with loving kindness. Now, I am a person who worships at the altar of synchronicity. So for me, this was a sign. So I wasn't necessarily looking for a church at that time, but I knew a minister. I had just met somebody, and some of you here might know him. His name was the Reverend Dr. Jason Cook, and he had just started at Cal State Fullerton. Now, we did a play together, so we'd spent a little time talking about this and that, and I thought, you know what, maybe it's time to go check out a church service. And I will say that also a little strange coincidence that his very first day in a Unitarian Universalist conversation was in this church. And the minister that called to him was the Reverend Karen Stoyanoff. So good work. I don't know that any of you who were here, and some of you might have been, knew that you were launching 2 Unitarian Universalist ministers into the fold. So good work, people. Proud of you. So it wasn't enough to just know a minister at a church. A sign is a big thing, so I dove right into the work and started learning everything I could about this denomination. And I learned a lot from this book. It is the Unitarian Universalist Pocket Guide. I don't know whose pocket this fits in, but that's okay. It had all kinds of information and everything that I needed to really see if this was a denomination that I could connect with. I hadn't been to church in 30 years. I mean, regularly. I'd definitely been in some churches, but one of the things I immediately connected with was the 7 principles that are on the first page of the book. And it says this: we, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote the inherent dignity of every person. Let me get that for you. It's a little small, so I'm going to read it for you. Value the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. A free and responsible search for truth and meaning. The right of conscience and the use of the democratic process with our congregations and society at large. The goal of world community with peace and liberty and justice for all. respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Pretty good, right? So, what has your journey been with these 7 principles? Many of you have been in this faith for a very long time. Some of you grew up in a UU church. Some of you may have just joined recently, and I don't know, maybe there's someone in here having their first day. All roads don't lead to ministry. That is not required. But you might stick around and get to meet some of these lovely people. So we're all in different parts of the river. We told that, Karen told that story about the water, searching for the sea, and we are all in that river right now. We're always in different parts of it. So I ask you at this time to take a moment to reflect. Maybe think about your first day. If you're thinking about your first day right now, that's easy to recall. We're going to go into a moment of meditation and consideration of how the 7 principles have connected with you. So I welcome you to close your eyes if you're comfortable, or soften your gaze. Put your feet on the floor if you like. However you engage in that work, and we'll take a few minutes of reflection. So we are all in different parts of the river, but we all began our day here and our work here with this: love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. This we affirm together. So as we go through that river, I think many of you are at different spaces when we come to talk about what I'm going to talk about now. And it might come as a bit of a shock, especially if you haven't been with this congregation or with this work that long, but we are looking at changing the 7 principles. If you've been a UU your whole life, this might not be as shocking, and yet it might be. We're all different. So we're kind of like that river in the parable right now that we had in the Time for All Ages. So how do we make choices? How do we decide whether or not it's time to be lifted by the wind into a new thing? Well, it's the use of the democratic process. With our congregations, with our governance practice. And I don't know if we'll transform. Maybe we're not ready yet. It's not really the first time we've had to redefine who we are, not at all. Transformation is necessary for growth, and our Unitarian Universalist ancestors have done it before. These 7 principles are the transformative process that was created when we combined denominations in 1961, which in itself was a huge transformation that had been considered for generations before it actually happened. These principles, along with the 6 sources, were last revised in 1987, and it's worth noting that in 1987, not everybody was feeling great about it. And then they were adopted. So Article 2 in our bylaws is where our principles live. It's the foundational expression of who we are as a unified religious tradition, and it articulates how we want to be together. Included in these bylaws is the acknowledgement that we will reconsider and possibly revise our expression every 15 years. This expression of faith has not been revised in close to 40 years, and this speaks to the power of these 7 principles and the sources. They have served us well. Although the world has gone through some rather enormous change and transformation since 1987, I don't know if you know where you were, but I was in college. And then I took a 30-year break before I went to grad school. So it's a long time, and our society has really changed quite a bit. And I know that I met some of the folks in this congregation in the very first discussion group that we ever had about this topic when it was still under revision before the final proposal was placed, which just happened in the last couple of months. So thank you for being part of my exploration and transformation in this process. So another thing we've been teaching for hundreds of years, actually, was that love is behind all of our work. And we're known for this. And I know this because when I was in my chaplaincy training over the summer at Downey Hospital, several people would ask, what church did I go to? And I said, I go to the Church of Downey Hospital today because that's where I was doing my work. But one person really pressed me. He was a retired minister that had worked, among other places, at the Crystal Cathedral. And he really wanted to know, because I think he wanted to talk theology with me. And so I told him, and he said, the love people. And I don't know if he meant this in a fabulous, the love people kind of way, or, the love people. I really don't know. But that's out there. That is part of who we are. I've heard it said in other places since then because I asked people about it. So as the world has changed, we in this faith continue to circle around love in all of its forms. And yet, the word love is not actually in our principles anywhere. It has been the wind behind those principles, but it's one of the many hot topics that have been coming up in the discussions that have happened over the last 3 years. So the crafting of these proposed revisions have gone through hundreds and hundreds of changes, if not thousands. There was a grassroots effort that kind of motivated some of this, and it was to add an 8th principle that came from a feeling that we needed to renew our engagement in anti-racist work, both inside and outside of our beloved communities in the wider world. There was a growing exposure to something that was already happening in our news feeds, on our television, on our phones, and maybe right in front of us. So there was an ongoing consideration of this and some other things. One of the other things that had been bubbling up for a long time was changing our first principle to change the wording to, instead of honoring humankind, honoring all living things. So those are just 2 things that came up. So they decided to take another look at this practice of revision. So if you're wondering how exactly we changed these bylaws, people go into, there's been a committee that has been working on this work for years. People from congregations have been writing in suggestions, and many have been adopted. And where we do this is at General Assembly. So General Assembly is a celebration of all things UU, and it is where we gather as Unitarian Universalists to discuss who we are and how we want to live in our faith together, who we want to be as a group in the larger world, and we appoint delegates from our congregations and fellowships to vote on these matters of conscience. So in 2017, there was a beginning discussion about amending some of these principles, but I imagine they'd been going on for a long time. I think we always talk about it. Our evolution, our change, our transformation. In 2020, the Article 2 Commission started taking those things. And here is the revised portion of the values and the covenant. Oh, I'm so sorry. But before we go into that, I want you to remember that love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. This we affirm together. So as I go into this, I know that there are big feelings about this. There really are, all throughout the community, on both sides. And some folks are kind of still thinking about it. And we have 3 more months because it is spring right now. But in the summer, this is coming up for a vote at our General Assembly. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant, congregation to congregation, and through our association, to support and assist each other in our ministries. We draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of our shared values through this spiritual discipline of love. So I want to acknowledge again that this is really new. This is radically different. This is a picture. What does it mean, for example, to be accountable to one another for the work of our shared values? Well, Adrienne Marie Brown and other emergent strategy leaders call out that things move at the speed of trust. And I have faith that as we examine these things, we'll find our ways to do that. And this is the graphic. Inseparable from each other, these values are interdependence, pluralism, justice, transformation, generosity, and equity. So today, I'm highlighting the first petal that I'm going to talk about is transformation, because that is kind of the heart of how this all came together and how it may or may not go through. Transformation can be slow. Transformation can be difficult, but transformation can also be amazing. So I want you also to notice that love is the center of this flower and informs all of these other practices. So they all come with words too. And I'm going to leave that to somebody else to preach on. Today, I am just going to go with transformation. One petal at a time, that's how I'm going. And it says, love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We work in relationship, doing the work of our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. So there's a few more petals, and heads up, you'll be hearing about another one in April. But for now, we'll start with this one. Oops, sorry. So, like the stream in the parable, I don't think we're in the mud right now, folks. I think that we are still in the stream, moving forward, engaging in each other in conversations, and engaging in our own transformations through the love practices that we have always held together. We are the love people, after all. And whether or not we will make the decision to let the wind catch us and blow us towards the ocean, I don't know. But we need to kind of think about what we want to tell our delegates before they go and cast a vote. And if you're brand new in this service today, I just want to say welcome. You have 2 different sources to look at right now, which is one more than I had. I had this. So I just want to express that I know this is work that kind of tugs at our hearts and our attachments. And if you ask me where I'm at right now, I'm at a place where I am not attaching myself to an outcome, because I know we're going to be fine however it goes, because we embrace each other in love and transformation. And I am beyond grateful for your companionship in this faith journey. May it be so.
Please rise in body or spirit, and let's sing our closing song.
The promise of the Spirit, faith, hope, and love alive. And so every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in our hearts is our guide. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim. We are answering the call of love. Sometimes we build a barrier to keep love tightly bound. Corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim. We are answering the call of love. A bright new day is dawning, when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim. We are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of love.
Unitarian Universalist congregations are fully self-supporting, meaning that members and friends raise all the funds for the operating budget and programs of the church. We are ever grateful for your gifts of time, treasure, and talent. OCUUC amplifies that spirit of generosity by sharing 1/2 of the plate we receive with an organization that shares our values. This month, we are sharing the plate with Bracken's Kitchen. OCUUC supported this program in its early days, and now, noting its success and community impact, we have an opportunity to celebrate the stated mission of rescuing, repurposing, and restoring both food and lives with our March plate sharing. So there are multiple ways that you can support the church and this organization. So you can mail a check, you can go through our website, you can use an app called Vanco Mobile. If you're a roomer, you can also simply use the basket as it's passed around. The choice is yours. All the information is on our website should you need it, and as always, thank you for your generosity.
There is a love holding me.
There is a love holding all that I love.
There is a love holding all.
I rest in this love. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding me. I rest in this love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. I rest in this love. I rest in this love. I rest in this love.
So this is our pledge drive season, and we are lucky to have a testimonial today from Prasan and Melody. So come on up.
Good morning. My name is Prasan Malavia,
And I'm Melanie.
and we've been members of this church since January of this year. So while we are new to this church and to this region, having moved from Ohio, our association with Universalist principles and the church, at least for me, began in 1994, while in the midst of having a very difficult time during my graduate thesis work. I was looking for a spiritual connection or some place that I could just be. So I attended my first service and immediately fell in love, first with the choir and then
With the food.
with, well, free food as a graduate student always helps.
Doesn't hurt. So we weren't together then. So when we moved back to Cincinnati in 2006, we started looking for a spiritual home for us and our kids. We were living out in the suburbs. Not too many of our neighbors were vegetarian. Nobody really recycled. And, you know, we were looking for a community of like-minded people.
So we started attending the UU Church in Cincinnati, Ohio, and our kids grew up in the church, and they've made lifelong friends through that community.
Right. As we stand here today, our daughter, who normally is in New Jersey, is actually up in San Francisco visiting her friend Julia, who they did the UUA Children's Choir together. They did their coming of ages together, and Julie came to visit us while we lived in China, and now they're still in touch, and Maya's up visiting them.
So while early on we were stretched for resources, we still found ways of being able to contribute to the church. So I primarily sang in the choir, and never did anything else except sing in the choir.
I taught RE. I eventually went on the board. And, you know, for us, it was just, like you said, we didn't have a lot of resources, but we had talent.
So through my work, we got the chance to actually move to China, live and work there for 5 years. And we carried the spirit of the church with us. And when we came back, we were very, very happy and glad to be welcomed back with open arms in the midst of the pandemic and the aftermath of the George Floyd incident. We were very, very happy to see how engaged our church was in social justice issues.
Yeah, so our church was very active in the Cincinnati community. We went to all sorts of vigils. We marched in pride parades. There was different things for Black Lives Matter, where we would go down to the courthouse every week and just peacefully sit there. So sit in. We did postcards, to get out the vote in the ever crazy swing state of Ohio. And so, we really were happy to be back into a community that embraced our values and that we could, give back.
So when we were looking at moving to Southern California, we were on a clandestine mission. We would attend our church services in the morning, and then through the power of Zoom,
we would sneak in on you guys in the afternoon.
So we looked at multiple churches. We attended the church in Fullerton with Reverend Jason.
Yep.
But when we came here,
we'd save the best for last.
So we are very, very happy to be part of this community. I think for both of us, social justice issues, environmental issues are part of what we feel very strongly about, and we are happy to be able to contribute to this church in any different way through time, talent, and treasures.
Yep.
And we hope that we hope to build deeper communities and connections with all of you as we take forward the mission of this church, being the love people.
I'm okay with that.
So thank you very much, and we invite you to share your time and talent and treasures with this church so we can take its mission forward. Thank you so much.
Please join us in singing We Gather Together, a song that puts our intentions into words and expresses our gratitude to the gifts that we share.
Now is the time when we honor the important events in our lives. You are invited, one and all, whether you are a member, a friend, or a visitor, to participate in our weekly ritual of joys and sorrows. And I would like to invite Judith up she's one of our pastoral care associates, and we'll take a deep breath today. Perhaps you come here holding something close to your heart, moments from the last days or even hours that have struck you at your core. If you would like to honor such a profound joy or sorrow, you are invited to do so. If you're a roomer, you're invited to come forward and light your candle. If you would like to share a joy or sorrow, you can write it on a slip of paper provided and hand it to me or to an usher. They're all around here. And if you're a Zoomer, I'm inviting you to write your joy or sorrow in the chat. And once the roomers are done lighting candles, I will read the joys and sorrows out loud, and Judith will light your candle for Zoomers. As the music is played, I invite you to silently offer healing or celebration as you feel called and according to your own beliefs. From Maryland, we have joy and gratitude for being back in my apartment with the help of a caregiver. This is Marilyn G, everyone. Gaining more strength daily, she says. If anyone on Zoom would like to share another one, I'll call it out after I read the in rooms. So from Jordan G, he has both a joy and a sorrow, the passing of Mark Menio, a person of acceptance in his community. He's mourning the loss, but also honoring the joy that his service filled within the lobby. Please light a candle of remembrance and sorrow for Reverend Raina H. and the family of Bowden. Bowden was a young Ukrainian refugee who stayed at our shelter for a few weeks. Raina had been teaching him and his siblings English at our church. To everyone's shock, Bowden was killed in a forklift accident last Monday while working at the Long Beach docks. The family who fled the war in Ukraine are devastated, as Raina, who has become very close with the family. From Ifanwe, my brother Pete passed in his sleep last week. He was and is special to me. I was the first sibling to hold him when Mom and Dad brought him home from the hospital after his birth. I was 12. So many memories. Pat Larkin is sharing a sorrow today. Her brother's sister-in-law, Vicky, passed away in December at the age of 61 from COVID. Her celebration of life ceremony is happening right now in Rochester, New York. Please pray for Vicky's transition to the other side and for her family that is processing her early and sudden loss. From Dave C., a fellow classmate, class of 1958, passed away last week. Mary Lou had also become a Unitarian Universalist. And from Fatana, my mother, Che, she learned of her daughter's terminal cancer and went to visit her in Colorado, her first airplane flight in her 80s. Please send her strength and patience and courage. Okay, just a couple more from the chat. From Phyllis, prayers for my grandmother, Debbie, in hopes that a donor kidney will appear soon. And from Kathy L., filled with joy after visiting my daughter and 15-month-old granddaughter in Boston. This is from Meg W. Huge thank to Prasan and Melanie for the auction dinner teaching and the Indian ritual of celebrating the colorful holy holiday. Holy holiday. That's a fun one. Immense joy and gratitude for the fantastic holy service last night at Prasan and Melanie's beautiful home. This is from the Kilter family. Please send healing thoughts into the universe for Sarah G. for a successful hip surgery and a quick recovery. Okay, this one came in from 3 different places, I will have you know. It is a joy. Happy birthday to Tom L. Today is the day. Many thanks to Sandy for the very lovely and appropriate flowers at the caring table. And I have one from Anonymous. It is a protest. It said, just a heads up, I will not vote to confirm a revised first principle that includes mosquitoes. Sorry, mosquitoes. The love people. Let us hold in love all the joys and celebrations, all the hurts and sadness, both spoken and silent. Let our joys remind us to be thankful, our concerns to remind us to hope, and our sorrows to remind us to connect. Let all these moments remind us that we are not alone. And I would like to invite Judith up. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss you? I'm so sorry, Simone. Oh, I'm so sorry. I have one more. Okay. Simone B says, wishing a bon voyage to her son, Philip, his wife, Gina, and their 3 children who are flying today from Portland to visit me and the San Diego Zoo. And also healing energy to Marilyn F., who had hip surgery this past Friday. Thank you, Judith. You can come up now. After you.
These are words by Maureen Killeran. As the rain has washed our land this season, may we enter this morning with hearts washed clean of complaints or bitterness. May we begin this morning by intentionally relaxing the tensions we carry, the strains of those things we cannot abandon, the responsibilities of our lives. As the sun has warmed our land this season, may we allow the warmth of this community to heal our broken places. May the fog be lifted so we can see each other clearly. May we rejoice in the blessing of companions who, if we will open ourselves just a little, will truly greet us with compassion and care. As the earth, nourished by rain, brings forth flowers to surround us with beauty, may we too allow our spirits to bloom, even as we acknowledge the complexity of our days. Blessed be.
So let's join together as we extinguish the flame of our chalice and say together, we extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the power of commitment. These are our hearts until we are together again. So thank you all for joining us this morning. We're a congregation made up of people who all believe differently. And yet, when we gather together, whether we're in the room or on Zoom, we make up one loving community. We need not think alike to love alike. If you're a guest or a visitor or someone who hasn't yet been known to us, we invite you to become a part of this beloved community. If you'd like to know more about our church, including programming for our youth and children, please stop by the welcome table. That's right there at the entrance. So also you can contact us at email addresses that are on the screen. We have the hello address that will get you connected to us. In addition, we invite you to sign up for our weekly email called The Blast at our Blast address. We want everyone to feel a part of this beloved community. So please reach out and we will get you connected.
So we have just a couple of announcements today. Today, the Women's Circle is meeting in the Victoria Room and on Zoom. And also you can join me in the Robitaille Room, also known as the Youth Room, for an in-person discussion group. And I would love to see you there. There are snacks. And all of our wonderful groups are listed here. And if you haven't joined a group, I highly recommend it. Getting to know folks is one of the greatest ways to engage in this work. I am noting now that this service is over, but our service continues out in the wide, wide world. Thank you.